Good morning, crafty friends. I am Gina from Gina K Designs, and it's great to spend this Saturday morning with you. This event so far has been fantastic, and I've been trying to pop into as many classes as I can, and wow, I'm surprised as many of you are up as there are here today because you guys have you've been going strong. Y'all must be exhausted, and we're only halfway there. So we are at the exact halfway point, starting this morning with some silhouette stamping fun. And I have a bunch of different little techniques to share with you throughout this video. And I just want to remind you all that if at any time the class seems to be going a little bit too fast for you, you can always put down what you're working on and just watch until you feel like you can move on to the next step, or you can just sit back with your coffee and watch the whole thing and then use the replay to make all of these cards. And remember, I always say it's not a race. It's not about getting everything done. It's about enjoying, experimenting, trying something new, making lots of mistakes along the way because that's how we learn, and just taking in the joy and the love from everybody in the group. Oh, it's been amazing. Well, Catherine and Megan, thank you for kicking off this event this morning. I hope you guys are sitting there and relaxing too, and you'll help me field a few questions here and there. I've got Tom with me this morning. Tom, you want to say hello to everybody? Hey.
Good morning.
Is that your coffee face? Or your lack of coffee face?
It's quickly becoming my coffee face.
Oh my gosh. Well, we're going to have a lot of fun, and Tom's going to be fielding questions too. So if you have a question and you want to just use the word question right before your question, maybe put question in all caps, it'll be easy for Tom to see them. But I don't expect that we're going to be unable to keep up with comments this morning, so I think we'll be okay. All right, so let's start first by just going over a couple things because I know not everybody went to the meet and greet, and I just want to explain one thing to you. So let's take a look at the overhead here. Now, some of you got this insert with your kit, and some of you got this insert with your kit without that red bar right there. Depending on which insert you got, that would tell you whether or not you were supposed to get that little extra replacement stamp. I have it around here somewhere. Here it is. So this little replacement stamp was put into the original kits that we shipped out for Catherine because this stamp right here was manufactured incorrectly. It was all separate little pieces, and that's kind of a nightmare stamp. So if you got this kit, you can pull these off and throw them away. If you want to keep them, you certainly can, but I don't know what you would use them for. It really feels like a nightmare to me. And then just replace it with this stamp. Now, one of our pallets got lost along the way, which if you watched the meet and greet, you heard that whole story. And so those people got this insert in their kit, and they got the correct stamp because we had to replace 600 kits. And so your kit would have come with the correct stamp already assembled onto the sheet. So it's good that we caught it in time, that we were able to get those replacement stamps out to you. It's totally my error. I missed it when I was proofing, and I should have seen it, so my error. But at least everybody got what they needed. So I wanted to clear that up just in case you had seen the unboxing and you thought you were missing something. You are not. If you probably got the right one if you are missing that extra set. So let's take a look at my class today. We're going to be making 3 different silhouette style cards. Now, silhouette stamping, when you think of silhouette stamping, you kind of think of this process with the ink blending and the black silhouette stamping. So we're going to do one of these this morning. It's a fast card. It's going to get our mojo going, and it's going to wake us up. You can do any of the other stamps in this set with this same technique. You've got this beautiful image. This is a 2-step stamp right here. And then you've got all these separate little images. So you can do this with any of those. But I wanted to show you some other fun things that you can do with silhouette stamps. And you can take these techniques to all the silhouette stamps in your collection. Now you should have had several different parts in your kit. Your stamp set, your coordinating die set, a second background stamp, and a stencil with a mask. Now, this masked oval stencil is really fun and makes it really easy to do cards like this. And we will be coming out with other shapes of masked stencils in the future. So, I am going to just kind of toss the book aside, and I'm going to do the cards today in an order that allows us to get them done in a little bit more of a timely manner, because we'll have to clean our background stamp a little bit less this way, or at least we're not going to have to be digging around on our table for things. So if you want to follow step by step with the book, you can pick a card and do the step by step to complete that one card, or you can watch the video and complete all three of them using the steps that I'm using today. And I just want to remind everybody, I always say this, there's nothing better than a weekend of creativity, and don't forget to be kind to yourself as you try and discover new things. Always remember that these are your practice cards, so don't dwell on perfection, but rather take each moment with enthusiasm, curiosity, and joy. And that's what we're going to do today. We're not going to worry about perfectionism. We're going to go with the Gina K motto of it's better than horrible. That's the standard. And remember, card making doesn't have to be complicated to be beautiful. So our cards today are not very complicated. They're super easy, but they're going to create lots of texture and beauty. And these will be great cards for you to do whenever you need a fast card that's beautiful. All right, I'm going to keep my instructions over here, though, because Simon Hurley was talking last night about having to look at his instructions, and honestly, it's so long ago that we actually made these classes and cards and instructions that, you know, we're kind of learning again, too. All right, so we're going to start with a piece of cardstock that was part of our homework. This is a cardstock piece cut 3.5 by 4 3/4 inches. Now, if you have a sticky mat or a stencil mat, you certainly can use that, but if you don't, just take a little bit of adhesive and tack that down onto a piece of cardstock. And then that's going to make sure that that doesn't shift. Now, the card that we're going to start with is this one right here. I love this ink blending color palette. It's light, it's springy, and, you know, just very, lots of pastels, and I think it's a fun one to use any time of the year. And even though we're in fall and going into the holiday season, remember, a box of cards for someone is a great gift. And you don't want to make necessarily Christmas cards as a gift for someone for Christmas. You want to make cards that they can use throughout the year. So this is a great layout that you can do to add to a box of cards and just change up the greetings to make them birthday greetings, thank you cards, whatever you want. So we're going to start with the stencil. So if you can get your masked stencil out, what we're going to do here is we are going to lay this stencil on top of the card. Now you'll notice here that there are 3 lines going around this stencil. These coordinate with our master layouts dies, or very common sizes that people cut for panels. We've got the 3.5 by 4 3/4. We've got the 3 3/4 by 5, and we've got the full A2 size. So we're going to lay this onto our card and just line it up with that 3.5 by 4 3/4, the smallest line in there. And then you know that your card is going to be exactly centered the way you want it. Okay. And then I'm going to use a little bit of pixie tape, but you can use washi tape, you can use purple tape, you can use whatever you have in your collection, masking magic, or if you're using a sticky mat or a grippy mat, the stencil will probably grip right to the mat. All right, so I'm going to get my ink stand out, and the first color that I'm going to use, these are the colors I'm going to use for this background. I'm using Sweet Mango, Bubblegum Pink, Sea Glass, and Jelly Bean Green. And I'm ink blending in rainbow order. So if you look at, you know, you want to ink blend, let me just say it this way. You want to ink blend colors that when they mix together, they're going to make a new color other than brown. So green and blue are going to make a blue-green, right? And then blue and pink are going to kind of make a purple kind of shade. And then pink and orange are going to kind of create a peachy tone. So then when you ink blend all of these down the card or up the card, however you want to do it, you're going to get colors in between there that are going to create a beautiful blend. So we're going to start with Jelly Bean Green, and we're going to start at the bottom. So I'm just going to turn my card this way, and you can turn your mat or whatever you're using. And I'm going to start with a green blending brush. Now I'm going to be using a very light hand here. All right. So we're going to start here at the bottom, and we're going to start on the stencil itself. Don't start on the cardstock because you'll get a big blotch. So start on the stencil itself, kind of working that color up. And you see how we're kind of catching the edge of that circle, but we're getting a nice light blend. Okay. And see how that's fading out to almost nothing there. All right, that's pretty good. So now I'm going to get my sea glass ink. That's going to be my next color. And remember, if you don't have exactly these colors, pick a green, pick a turquoise, and you're going to be fine. Your card might be more vibrant than mine if you use some deeper colors, but that's okay. You know, vibrant is good. Now I might have another color on this brush. I might have some tranquil teal, and that would be too dark. So I'm just going to use a rough paper towel, something that has a texture, just to brush off some of that color so that my brush, my sea glass isn't too dark. And I'm going to ink this up with some sea glass. And I'm going to come in now from the side, kind of right over that line. So again, I'm starting over here, and then I'm working my way across. And this is going to help me get a nice smooth blend. And I'm working down into that green. And as I kind of drop some of that ink off of the brush, then I can work my way up a little bit, and I'm not going to get blotchy color. See how the color's blending so nice? Kind of see that. Okay, and if you want to like hit the edges a little bit, you can turn it a little and edge it a little bit. You see how it's getting a little darker along the edges? That's just going to define your oval a little bit more, but it's not necessary to do that. Either way, it's going to look beautiful. Now my next color is going to be bubblegum pink, and I'm going to clean my pink brush.
So Terry wants to know, how do you avoid getting dark lines of ink at the edges of the stencil?
Well, in my case, I kind of want the dark line at the edge of the stencil because when we pull this stencil off, it's going to really define it. So it's going to be a beautiful, well-defined oval. So I wouldn't worry about that. Give it a chance and see if you like it. And if you don't like it, you know, I would just go with a lighter hand along the edge, but really that's going to really set it up to look really nice. Okay, so now we're going to go with some bubble gum. You can see I brushed off whatever pink was on there before. I have one brush for each color family. So my bubble gum might look a little darker just because whatever was on there before, but we're going to do the same thing. We're going to start off the side like this, starting that color, and we're kind of starting right on that turquoise. So you can start to see that purple forming in between there. And then once I offload a little bit of that ink, I'm going to work my way up. And if you like that line like I do, you can kind of dig in a little bit around the edge. And there we go with our bubble gum. But definitely you can use a lighter hand. But I think once we pull this off, see the nice thing about the Gina K ink is it's got a smoothing agent in it. So anything that looks blotchy now, if you like run to the bathroom and you come back in a little bit, it's gonna look super smooth. So I think that, you know, just give that little edging a chance to kind of smooth out and lighten up as well. I don't think it's going to be quite as pronounced. Okay, so now we are going to use some sweet mango. Oh, Jennifer said this would be good for Easter cards. It would, wouldn't it? It kind of looks like an Easter egg. That's a great idea. All right, so we're going to use some sweet mango ink next. And you can use any orange you want here. And this is going to kind of create the look of sunshine. And I'm going to start this up here on this part of the stencil. And then I'm going to work my way down into the pink. Now, if you go back and you look at your blend and you think, oh, I really want more pink and less orange, or I want, a better fade there, you can always go back with that pink brush and add more pink into that orange. I just wouldn't reload ink on it. This way you won't get any blotchiness. You see how I'm just kind of making that more peachy up in there? Okay. And there is our fade. Okay, so now that we have that, I'm going to pull my stencil off and show you what that looks like. And then while you're finishing that up, I'm going to clean my stencil. You're not going to need your stencil anymore, so if you fall behind at all here, don't worry about it. But look at that blend. Isn't that pretty? And can you see what I mean about that little bit of edginess around the outside, how it just really makes the whole thing pop? Now, I like to clean my stencils. You can clean them with water. I like to clean mine with alcohol, especially when I'm live, because everything dries really quick. And so I'm just going to use a little bit of rubbing alcohol here and just quickly clean up the stencil. Now, while you're finishing that up, I want to show you one little thing that you can do with this stencil that maybe you haven't tried or haven't thought of. Let me just cut a quick piece of white cardstock here, and this is giving you guys a little chance to finish up, and you can peek up here. So we'll just go with the with like a A2 size. I'm going to wiggle this off, and I'm going to put a little piece of tape back here, and this is A2.
Quick question.
Yeah.
Did you use the whole head of the brush or just part of it?
I used the whole head of the brush. The whole head. Now, I included this. Normally, they would throw these away at the manufacturer, but I included this because I wanted to show you how you can use this. I would put a little tape on here. I'm going to make it a little less sticky just by touching it a little bit with my lotiony hands. And you could lay this right on top of your cardstock. And then if you wanted to, I'm going to do a quick blend for you using those same colors. You could go around the outside I'm not even re-inking my brush here. I just want to show you this kind of technique.
Amanda wants to know, how do you keep the blending brush from going under the stencil?
Ooh, well, you may need to secure your stencil down a little bit better, and you may need to lighten up on how heavy or how much pressure you're putting on. Because if you're actually getting those bristles under the stencil, you may be pressing a little bit too hard. And so you can see here, I'm just taking those same colors that we did, and I'm just starting on the mask itself and working my way around. Now, when you pull this off, you've got an open space in there with like this beautiful sunset look around the outside. And then when you take your silhouette stamp in there, it's going to look so cool because you've got the look of the sunrise and all of that in the background, but it gives you more white space where you can stamp a bolder greeting and stuff. So make sure you don't lose this piece, because that is a whole other way to use this stencil that we're not even going to use today, but I wanted to show it to you because sometimes people might throw that away thinking that was just part of the packaging, and it's not. It is meant for you. That's kind of fun, huh? You can also do clusters of flowers in here and stuff like that. So lots of ways to use this kind of panel. All right, I'm going to put my stencil away, and then we are going to stamp our first card. Now this first card, let me find my little pocket here. I've been storing all of my supplies in our Gina K Designs stamp and stencil pockets. And I didn't have any stencil pockets, so I just grabbed a stamp pocket for this as well. But these make it really nice, and if you want to keep everything together, you can put it all in one pocket as well. All right, I'm going to use my Misty now. And we're going to be using the Misty a little bit here today. And I am going to, again, put a little bit of tape back there because I do not want this to move. And even though we've got this trusty little magnet, sometimes it's not enough. And another little tip for you is to make sure that you put a little bit of tape. Here, this is an old piece of purple tape, but I'll put a new one with pixie tape. One thing, when you're double stamping and triple stamping something, take a little bit of tape, and you can even use a stickier tape than this, but this will work. And I have the Misty mouse pad here, but even your regular Misty pad, tape it down onto the Misty itself like that. Because even if you want to double stamp and your cardstock doesn't shift off the pad, if the pad shifts, you're still going to be off. So I always like to keep a little bit of tape under there just to make sure that everything stays in place. And that little tape underneath this card panel really does help. So everything is nice and secure. All right, so let me find my stamp set. Is this the one? Yeah, this is the one here. So I'm going to use this stamp. And I love when I do silhouette stamping to have the silhouette image go outside of my ink blended shape. I think that looks really pretty. Oh, Vicki Donnelly, that's a great idea. Yeah, you could totally put a picture in the middle of this one. That is a great idea. You could even cut that out. You could make it a shaker card. Great idea. You guys always have great ideas. All right, so I'm going to take this right down to the bottom of the oval. So the black's going to go right to the bottom, but it's going to extend on either side. And now I'm going to pick that up with the door of my Misty. See how my paper stayed there really nicely? Okay. And now I'm going to use some black onyx ink. This is our dye ink. I love black onyx ink, and I love using dye inks for this as opposed to a more pigment ink or a hybrid ink because it dries so quickly. And when you're using silhouette stamps, it's just a lot of black ink all over the place, and it's so easy just to touch it by accident and smear. So if you have a good dye ink in your collection, I would highly recommend having at least one black dye ink. Okay. So if you're using these stamps for the first time, you may have to stamp several times because there's always a manufacturing residue, and silhouette stamps can be a bear. So I recommend like taking your finger and just rubbing over the surface of each stamp. You can wash the stamps first. You can use your tidy towel or your stamp chamois, whatever you have. You can use a little toothbrush and get it off, or just, you know, rub it onto your skin, however you want. But there is a manufacturing residue on there that needs to be worked off a little bit before the stamps are very easy to stamp, and that's just normal. So if you stamp yours the first time and it looks a little spotty, don't worry about it. It's not there's nothing wrong with the stamp. It just has manufacturing residue on it. And I like to go with a light hand, but I like to stamp more than once, because when you have images like this that have these tiny little delicate features, if you press too hard, sometimes you squish them and you distort the image. But if you stamp it light-handed 3 or 4 times, you're going to get a nice crisp black image, and you're not going to distort any of the beauty of the stamp. But that is another reason why I really like to tape that paper down on my Misty. I mean, you can also use the magnet if you want, but sometimes the magnet gets in the way, and then all of a sudden it like doesn't allow the stamp to make contact with the paper.
Question from Janet. What master layouts would fit this stencil?
Master Layouts 2, Master Layouts 1, Master Layouts 14, any of the ones that coordinate with Master Layouts 1 and 2, because they're the different sizes, Master Layouts 1, Master Layouts 2, and an A2 size card.
And Paula wants to know, will amalgam ink do for this?
So amalgam ink, I find that when you mix amalgam ink and dye-based ink, sometimes you get a little fuzziness along the outside edges. So you could try it. If you're getting that fuzziness, then just let this panel dry thoroughly, because it's dry to the touch and it's not going to smear, but I can feel that it's saturated in the paper and it's not 100% dry. It takes a little while to dry. So my first choice is always going to be dye ink. All right, I'm going to see if I have a little acrylic block. I don't think I do, so I'm going to use this one. I think I took my little acrylic block home for something. And if you don't have an acrylic block, you can use this cute little gift that you got from Crop and Create. It can be a paperweight, it can be a decoration, or it's got these cool little handles on the side, and you can always stamp with this as well. So that was such a great gift, Catherine. I love that. All right, so now what we're going to do is we're going to put a couple of birds on here. Now you can either use an acrylic block. Maybe we won't do that. Maybe we will go back with the Misty and do it. So I'm going to sit this bird on top of the flower, make sure that he's a little bit upright like that. And then I'm going to have the flying bird flying outside of this circle. So let's do the birds first, and then we'll do the greeting last. I like to take it in stages. I'm not in that much of a hurry to make a card that, you know, I can't do this in stages, because it's the more stamps you have, the more ink that you have to do that with. You know, the more ink you have to deal with trying to ink more than once. Okay. There we go. There's one. And two. I think that'll do it. Oh, I love that. Isn't that fun? And it's fun to see these things just going outside of that beautiful oval. And the more you clean your stamps, the better they're going to stamp the first time. All right. Now we're going to pick a greeting. And you can pick any greeting you want that will fit. I'm going to use Wishing You a Beautiful Day because can you see how much lighter this is than this? It's just a matter of how heavy-handed you feel on any given day. I was just a lot lighter-handed here, but I still think this is absolutely beautiful and much more vibrant. So, you know, depending on what look you're going for, just go ahead and, you know, go heavy-handed or really light-handed. So I'm going to use Wishing You a Beautiful Day because I think that's a good one also for a birthday. And this is a very beautiful scene. And I'm going to go off the oval.
And Lori said, don't forget your dragonfly.
Oh, my dragonfly. Yes, my dragonfly. Thank you for reminding me. I might do that with an acrylic block and be brave. Now, with clear stamps, it is great that you can see through. But I'm just going to remind everybody of this quick tip, especially because I know we have some new stampers in the event. Your clear stamp sheet that comes off of your stamps is a great way to see if you actually have positioned your stamp straight. So I just lay this right on top and I put my magnet down. And then with that clear sheet on top, I go ahead and stamp the image. So it's not going to be super clear, but at least you can see, is that Wishing You going downhill, or does it look pretty straight? If it looks straight, then it's good to go. You can clean your stamp sheet. I know it's scary, right, to clean it right over the paper. And then you can put that back on your stamp set, and now you know that your greeting is going to be straight. It's just a little double check for you if you're nervous about it, especially after you've gone through all the work of making a beautiful card and then, you know, here we go. We're going to stamp and then ruin the greeting. But remember, it doesn't have to be perfect as long as it's better than horrible. And if you do stamp the greeting crooked, you can always pop up a greeting on top of it by cutting it out with a die. Okay. So there we go. And now I'm going to put this stamp back and we're going to quickly assemble this card and we will have card number 1 done. So this was the warm-up card, the easy card, the traditional silhouette stamped card. So part of your homework included cutting a black panel and a white card base. My homework was super easy. So if you are, if you're one of those people that just didn't have time, you had to work, you had a bunch of things going on, you didn't do any of the homework, just make the panel parts today. And then go back and cut these 2 pieces and it's just, boom, boom, and it's done. So you don't have to worry. And if you're a little behind right now, you can always assemble this later so you can catch up. All right. So, and I am going to do the dragonfly. I know I forgot it, but I'll do it right here at the end with a block, reluctantly. So I'm just going to tape this panel onto the bigger panel, the black panel. And these could all be cut with master layouts too, these 2 panels, if you feel like you don't cut well or you want the little decorative stitched edge. Our Master Layouts 2 is a die set that cuts panels and shadow layers for panels. It makes it really easy to get everything straight, especially when you're dealing with these tiny little edges like this. So look at that. It's closer over here. So let's go ahead and pull that up real quick before that dot runner sets, and we'll move it over. All right, now while you guys are finishing that up, I am going to grab this tiny little dragonfly. Oh, this is the tiniest little stamp. I have a tiny acrylic block somewhere, but I don't know. I think I did take them home. All right, and you can put this wherever you want. This is a great little empty space right here, so I'm going to ink this up. And I'm just going to pop it right in there. There we go. Now, you may have seen me rock that stamp a little bit. Every video you probably watch on beginning stamping, they say don't rock the stamp because you'll get a double image. But it's something to practice because rocking the stamp a little bit makes sure that you get the entire stamped image stamped. But you have to have kind of a steady hand to do it because you don't want to move the stamp out of position when you do that. But there's our first card. And I'd love to know how many of you were able to complete this one. Because if this is all you did during my class, you can consider yourself accomplished that you made a card today so early in the morning without a full cup of coffee in your system. So bravo to you. All right. And you can see once again the difference in a heavier hand and a lighter hand. Yay! Oh my gosh, Kathleen made 2. She's an overachiever. That's awesome. Now I'm going to show you the next card that we're going to do together. We're going to do this one together, and this uses that big background stamp in a couple of different ways. And I'm going to stamp the background panel first. But because I'm stamping the background panel first, I'm actually going to stamp both background panels since these both have the same background. And we're going to kind of go off script a little bit, and we're going to take care of that. So, and remember, if your stamps aren't stamping clear, it's because there's manufacturing residue on them. So make sure that you wash them really well. You rub them really well with your finger. Go to the overhead again, Tom. You rub them really well with your finger and get that residue off. Don't take an emery board or anything nail file to them, though. You will totally ruin them and you will forever see scratches. But if they're not stamping well, they're not defective. They just have manufacturing residue on there. Okay? All right, so now we're going to take the other 2 white panels. And I'm going to show you the way I like to use a background stamp, because a lot of you maybe like using your MISTI or a big acrylic block. I don't feel like I have the strength in my hands to do that. I feel like I never get a good impression when I do that. So I'm going to show you the way I do it, and maybe this will work for you. So we're going to use this Beautiful Patterns stamp. Now this has 4 different patterns on it, and these patterns we're going to use today for the kissing technique. But it's also a great background stamp just the way it is. Now, if you want to put it in your MISTI and you want to stamp all 4 of these in different colors, you can put it in your MISTI and line up your cardstock, and then you can mask off each area, ink up one area in red, stamp it, clean it, then mask off these, ink up that area in green, mask it, ink it up, stamp it, clean it. You can use it that way to get all 4 different panels in different colors. But I'm going to use it just for texture. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just take this top sheet off, and I'm going to just lay it on its back. It's okay if it's moving around. That's all right. Doesn't need to stick to anything because I still have this index sheet on it, and that's fine. And I'm going to start with my gray one. So I'm going to use the color Soft Stone. And remember, you're doing mostly in the center here because I'm going to try to line this up so that it's fairly centered. It's a lot easier to do than you think because it looks complicated, but it really isn't. So I'm going to take my Soft Stone ink and I'm going to ink up this whole stamp with Soft Stone. And again, this is another very big stamp, so if you're not getting a super clear impression the first time, you may have to season it a little by washing it. Some people like to put a little Versamark on the stamp first because the Versamark is sticky ink and it helps the dye ink stick to the sticky ink. All of that is fine to do, but as you use the stamps, and this goes for stamps for every single class, you're going to find that they will get much better and much more consistent over time as you use them. I have stood in the room and watched my own stamps be manufactured, and the photopolymer manufacturing system is really interesting, and they wash the stamps afterwards. But they wash the stamps kind of the way the car wash works, you know, it just floods the stamp with water. But that's very different than taking a scrub brush and scrubbing in between everything. So you can always do that when you get home and it will work, when you get the stamps home, and it'll work a lot better. All right, I think I've got that pretty well covered. So I'm going to start with a white piece of cardstock here. And I'm going to just look at this. Doesn't matter if it's perfect top and bottom. I'm just going to try to make it straight along the top, like that. And it might be a little off, but that's okay. Now I'm going to take my index sheet here. I'm going to lay it on top, my clear sheet, and I'm just going to rub over the whole surface. I'm making contact everywhere, but I'm holding with my other hand to make sure that the paper doesn't move. It's not real likely to move because these are clear stamps and they are sticky, so they kind of grab the paper anyway, but see how I'm going like all around the outside? That's a great, easy way to make sure that the stamp makes contact with every bit of the paper. I'm going to peel that off, and then I'm going to peel this off, and now I've got a great image there. I did ink a little deep over there, but that's okay. It's better than horrible. All right, so now I'm going to clean this because I'm going to do it again. I'm going to do it a second time. And I probably didn't clean the stamp really well last time, so there's probably some ink from before that was dried on there. So we'll just clean it again. And here, if your first one didn't go well, and I don't know that my first one went that well, so why don't we do it one more time and I'll show you again. And we can use the back side of that card. We'll do it one more time. See if I can get it a little straighter too. Okay, so back side this time. Lay it down like that. Clear sheet on top, and then rub. I made these cards a really long time ago, and anybody who knows me knows I'm very bad about cleaning my stamps. So I don't necessarily clean them very well. And sometimes, you know, if you've got some ink left over on the stamp, it'll pick up the new ink and you'll get a weird impression. But that's all right. Better that time, right? It just took a little cleaning, that's all. All right, so we'll use that one. And then I'm going to clean this clear sheet too, because it does have ink from around the perimeter of the stamp, because I'm going to go with a different color for my second panel. All right. And I used my Tidy Towel to clean that, but I probably could have used alcohol and then it would have dried a lot quicker. So I'll just use a paper towel to clean that up.
Christy is asking, does soft stone have a green undertone? Mine looks a little green.
A little bit. It's not super blue, so it might have a hint of a green undertone to it. All right, so now we're going to use craft ink for the second panel. So we're going to do the same exact thing, and then these two panels will be done for both of our cards, and we won't have to worry about them anymore. These are the lightest colors of ink that we're going to use, and for the rest of our stamping using this background stamp, we're going to be using darker, brighter inks. So I figured because I don't have a sink here in my studio, it would be easier to get these two panels done and out of the way, and then we don't have to worry about contaminating red ink or teal ink onto our backgrounds. Okay. Okay. Looks pretty good. Check my fingers because I am inky. And now we're going to do the same thing again. We're going to lay this right down on top. And then I'm going to put my clear sheet on top. And then again, making contact with the entire piece of cardstock. And I'm holding it down. I like to hold the paper down, but, you know, like I said, the stamp is so sticky that it's really not that much of a problem. And, you know, when you have a big stamp like this, I'll tell you another little sneaky trick, okay? When you have a big stamp like this, especially a stamp that has a lot of surface space, the design has a lot of surface space. Now, this one doesn't have quite as much surface space. And what I mean by that is, you know, if you had a very bold design that had lots of bold images on it, it has a little bit more grippy space. This one, the patterns are more delicate, but I have to show you this because I think it's kind of cool. Let's pull this off first. All right, so there we go. We've got our craft one. Looking pretty good there. So let me show you what I mean. With these background stamps, you can always use your background stamp as a grip mat if you don't have one. So you can take this off, and this will stick to your tabletop really well. And then you can put your cardstock onto the back of your stamp, and this stamp becomes a grip mat. I mean, it's not coming off. And then you have to really kind of get your finger under there and pull it off. So if you've been really dying for a grip mat and, you know, you're waiting for yours to arrive, you could certainly use one of your sticky background stamps in the meantime. All right. I really made a mess of my thing here, but that's fine.
You are quite the tip jar today.
I am a tip jar today. Let me pull this off again. Sometimes your index sheet will pull a little color off too, but that's okay. I just want to get this back on here because we're going to be using this today. Okay. So now what we're going to do is we're going to start with this piece of cardstock. This card. So, you know what, Tom? I ran out of white cardstock, but here's a piece. I'll use this. This will work. It's the same, okay? Panic, panic. All right, so the first way I'm going to show you this technique is by using the MISTI. All right. So we're going to do the same thing again because we don't want anything to move. So we're going to put a little bit of tape on the back of this cardstock. And then I am going to take this off of here just so that it grips here to my desktop. And don't mind that. That's on the back side, so don't mind that. It's totally fine. I think it's on the back side. Maybe it's not. Maybe it's on the front. So you got to know the front from the back. So if you do take yours off, you might have to just clean that off. And it'll probably come off with alcohol, but I'm not going to worry about it. I have a backup one here, so just be careful that you know the front and the back of that. So we'll just put this over here. Okay, so what we're going to do now is we're going to do the kissing technique. Now, actually, I'm going to save this for my other card. Here's what I want you to get. I want you to get these two panels here. This is the panel that measures, let me see, I'm going to tell you. I have to look in the book. I did my homework last night. This is the panel that measures 2.5 by 4 inches, and this is the black panel that measures 2 5/8 by 4 1/8. We're going to stamp on this because this one we're not doing die cutting. I forgot about that, so we want to do this the right way. Now I'm going to make a recommendation here. I think in the book it said to stamp the flower and everything, and then at the bottom stamp the greeting. I want you to stamp the greeting first because I really struggled with this. If you stamp the greeting at the bottom first, then you'll know where to position your flower. If you position your flower wrong, there'll be no area here to actually stamp your greeting. So this, what is the size of this piece? This piece is 2.5 inches by 4 inches. Okay, 2.5 by 4. I'm looking at the book, but it's right here. I missed it. Oh, God. It's early. I haven't had enough coffee yet. Okay, so let's do the same one, birthday wishes. Now, wishing you peace will just fit. I think that's going to be tight. And wishing you a beautiful day would be nice, but I don't think your flower will fit here. So let's go ahead and do the birthday wishes right here. Okay. So we're going to line this up. And for the next card, this scrap piece, this is like it's a quarter sheet of cardstock, but that doesn't matter. You can use any scraps that you want because we're going to be die cutting those out. All right, so we'll pick this up. And again, if you want to check and make sure that it looks straight, you can always put your index sheet in here. And we'll stamp it once with black ink to make sure that it's going to be straight. It's like one of my favorite little tips. I just love that. So that looks straight to me. So we'll just clean that. And now we know we can stamp it. This is the one that has no colors listed on the instructions. Oh, did I forget to add colors? Well, we're going to be using the colors that are in the card today, and if you want to jot them down in the notes section in the back, or you can kind of go off the, off the grid a little and use your own colors. That's totally fine too. But I'll say all the colors as I use them. I apologize if I forgot to put the colors in there. Okay, so now we've got our greeting in there, and now we're going to use the stems, all right? And we want the stems to go right down to the bottom here near the birthday greetings. Now, before you commit to this, lay your flowers on top to make sure that they don't go off the edge up here. And I think this is looking pretty good. Looks pretty good. I think that's going to work. Okay. But I would just say get that stem as close to the greeting as you can without it touching the greeting. And this is why you did not want to have that nightmare stamp that I provided for you in the first batch. Okay, so now what we're going to do here is we are going to stamp this with Jelly Bean Green. All right, so we're going to start with Jelly Bean. I'm going to ink this up real well. You can stamp it more than once if you want to get your Jelly Bean as dark as you want. Okay, now I think that's going to be good for now. Now I'm going to clean the stamp. So here's where we're going to clean it. Don't move it though. Leave it where it is. Leave the cardstock where it is. Just clean the stamp. Now we're going to add texture to this stamp using this background stamp. So what we're going to do here is we are going to stamp this with fresh asparagus. We're just going to stamp it. This is the darker green, the fresh asparagus. And then we're going to take this background stamp and we're going to, on an angle like this, we're going to kiss it to the stamp that's on the Misty. We're going to pull that off and then we're going to stamp it. And you see the little texture you have in there? You've got the little plaids, the little gauze texture in that stamp. Okay. That's fun, huh? Okay, and now I'm going to clean this stamp so that I don't inadvertently put my hand in it and make a mess. And now we've got that stamp done. Isn't that fun? Now our next step, we're going to add the flowers. And I did this in a two-step stamp, even though it'd be fun to stamp it all at once as a silhouette stamp. I did it in 2 steps because I wanted you to be able to separate out the color of the flowers from the greenery. And if you need to see how it lines up, you can kind of do it in black first, you know, like kind of, you know, with the index sheet here, just kind of position it to see what it's supposed to look like. That's what it's supposed to look like. And then you can kind of get your stamp in the right position and you should be pretty close to where it needs to be. So I'll give you a second to line this up. And once you line it up, pick it up with the door of the Misty. My little pixie tape's given up. Okay, now, while everybody's catching up with that, I want to show you something else. This is just a little tip. Don't forget that you can create some really cool things with this same technique with other stamps you have in your collection. Here is a stamp set that is called Painted Blossoms. This is a mini stamp set in our collection. And I think it's so fun to be able to do a similar technique with a bold greeting. So this is a brand new set I just stole off of our shelf because I don't know where mine went. I lose everything. If you think you lose everything, don't worry. You don't lose as much as I do. And I'm going to put this on an acrylic block. And I'm going to show you an alternate way to use this. So I'm cleaning it because it's brand new. Okay. So we're going to do this with 2 turquoise colors, and these are the colors we're going to be doing with the flower. So I'm just showing this to you to give you guys a little bit of time to catch up, okay? This is another kissing technique, and we're going to use this technique today too, but I thought it would be fun to show it to you with a greeting. So we're going to pick a pattern here. Let's do this pattern. This is a petite flourish kind of pattern, a little flourish. And we're going to ink this up with the darker color. This is the Tranquil Teal. Then we're going to ink this stamp up with the lighter color, and that is sea glass. And we'll just test that to make sure that looks good first. Okay, that looks pretty good. So I'm going to stamp this with sea glass, and then I'm going to kiss it onto the stamp. Give a second for that to transfer. And now stamp it. And you see now I have all that cool little texture in there. That little floral design. So don't forget, other stamps in your collection are going to work for this technique. Even some of your big, bold greetings. I know like Kathy Zilski, she does a whole collection over at Simon Says Stamps. She's got some big, nice, bold greetings. They would be perfect for this technique. Okay, so now everybody should have their stamp onto their MISTI by now. And we are going to ink up the stamp with sea glass. And we're going to stamp it first. Nice light coating of sea glass. I'm going to do it one more time. There we go. Okay. Now we're going to kiss again. We're going to use turquoise sea. I want to get the right lid on the right turquoise so we don't have a disaster. And I'm going to use this same stamp again. Now, if you don't think that this pattern is drastic enough in color, you can go even darker. You could go to navy. You can go to blue denim. You can really take it. You could go to black. Black would be amazing for this technique. And I can demonstrate that for you too. Because I know it takes a little while for everybody to catch up, and we want to make sure people feel accomplished and not rushed. So we're going to take that same stamp and we're going to lay that right on top here, and we're going to transfer that pattern onto that stamp. And even if I didn't clean the stamp, it's okay, because the background, whatever's left, is just going to be the same color that's on the stamp. Okay, and now we're going to stamp that. Look how pretty that is. It just gives it something so special. So you can kiss it on just non-stamped images too? Yes. And we're going to do that technique that I just showed you with the word stamp. We're going to do that kind of kissing next on the next card. So you're going to be able to experience that. So make sure you have an acrylic block on standby. All right, so now that we've got this kissed, we'll wiggle that off. There we go. This is ready for our card. So let me clean this up first, and that'll give people time to catch up. It's always good to clean up as you go, right? That's a new theory for me, but I'll do it today, because that'll help everybody get caught up. Okay. Now, we're going to assemble this card. So we'll have card number 2 out of the way. I must have a lot of green on my tidy towel. I have more than one tidy towel, though. I always keep about 3 or 4 tidy towels close by, because I am an inky mess. And it's not unlike me to ruin my project with a fingerprint. But what do we call that? That's an opportunity to embellish, right? All right, so we're going to adhere this white panel onto the black panel. And if you need the measurement for the black panel, that black panel is 2 5/8 by 4 1/8. And we're going to put those together. Pardon me. I heard Simon say that he was getting dry, so I made sure to bring my water. All right, now we're going to use the gray background that we made and one of the black panels that we cut out as part of our homework. And if you're doing your homework as you go along, this panel measures 3.5 by 4 3/4. So this one is 3 5/8 by 4 7/8. If you have master layouts too, those panels will cut that out for you. Or those dies will cut those panels out for you. And we're going to adhere these two panels together. And then, of course, we have one of our white card bases. I tend to do all my card bases for Catherine's class in white, just to make it easy, because I know that she gives you that gorgeous white cardstock, and it's always fun to see how beautiful it is and how it looks. But, you know, if you want to step your cards up with another color, you could always add a green card base. You could always add a blue card base. Or one of my favorite colors for this would be a soft stone card base, because look how pretty soft stone would look, and it would just make that turquoise pop so much more. So if you have a nice gray in your collection, you might want to try a gray card base. But you don't have to. You can do exactly what's in the book. So I'm going to adhere this panel to my card base, and then I'm going to pop this one up just to give it a little dimension. And for my cards, I didn't require any embellishments or anything because I really wanted to focus more on the techniques today. Boy, can I not see straight today? I think I only had 2 sips of my coffee. I see it sitting here, and it's mocking me, saying, you know, you'd be a lot better than horrible if you just drink me. It's right here, my coffee. This is a mug Jennifer McGuire gave me. Jennifer, I use this every single day and still love it. Okay, I'm going to use the 1/2 inch foam squares. If you don't have those, you can use 1/4 inch, you can use foam tape, you can use whatever you have in your collection. And I'm going to do 5 of these, one in the center. I also have a gorgeous pink one from Catherine that says Crop and Create. That's my vacation mug, though, Catherine. I take that one with me. It's actually in my suitcase all the time. Would you believe it? I keep that mug in my suitcase all the time so that I never forget it. I clean it and put it right back in. And anytime I go on vacation, I take that mug with me because, you know, it makes me remember Crop and Create, which is always a vacation and a party. Okay, and I'm going to lay this right on top. Like that. And card number 2 is complete. Love, love. So you can see, I mean, you could, you know, sprinkle a few sequins or a few metallic pearls or whatever you want on here to add a little bit of bling to that. And I know you got those beautiful blingies from Picket Fence Studios and also from Spellbinders, I believe. Maybe I'm wrong, but I saw somebody say something about bling. So there's definitely bling in your box, and you could definitely add some of that to both of these cards so far. All right. So we have card 2 accomplished, and we're only an hour in. Here's my sample, and there's my card for today. So you can see I was a little heavier handed here on the fresh asparagus. Here I was a little light handed. That's kind of the beauty of this technique, is each one's going to be unique. Each one is going to be different. Am I an over-adheser like Kathy Zilski? Kathy Zilski, her cards are never going to fall apart. Kathy Z knows how to use adhesive. All right, so I'm going to put these cards all aside so I don't ruin them. And while you guys are getting ready, I'm going to get set up for my next card. And I'll tell you about it. So here is the final card that we're going to make today. And this one we're going to do some die cutting. So you are going to need the dies that come in the kit. And they are in the... Everything was all packaged together in a bundle with that little index sheet. So you should have everything that you need. And I'm going to get my dies out and just put those aside and hope I don't lose them. You're also going to need some adhesive foam for this. So if you're like Kathy, get, 5 packs of foam squares for these 3 flowers. Or if you're like me, whatever's left will work. And then we are going to do this kissing technique, but we are going to do it just on regular cardstock with an acrylic block, because I think it's good to see it both ways. Not everybody has a MISTI. So some of you are, you know, maybe thinking, oh gosh, I wish I had a MISTI, but I can't do this technique. You absolutely can do this technique. So I'm going to use this piece of cardstock that I demoed on because I don't think we're going to need a ton of it. Now the colors that I'm going to use for my flowers are Sweet Mango and Faded Brick. And you can see here, I used the little dot pattern for the Faded Brick, but you can use any pattern you want. Now, one thing that's kind of cool, and let me see if I have a bigger stamp that I can show you this on. I think, let me do it like, let's do it with this flower here. I'll just show you a technique while you guys are getting ready for your next card, because we've got time. So one thing that's really cool is with this striped pattern, you can create a little bit of like a plaid look. So I'm going to stamp this striped pattern because I don't use this in the kissing technique today, so this will be fun to see. I'm going to stamp this with Faded Brick. And then I'm going to stamp this flower with Sweet Mango. And then I'm going to kiss it onto the striped pattern. Then I'm going to turn my block a quarter turn and I'm going to kiss it on another spot on that plaid pattern and then stamp it. And you see how you get like a plaid texture? So this is just a striped pattern, but you get a plaid texture by just, I'm not throwing shade at you, Kathy. Just by turning it a quarter turn, you get the crisscross. So that's really fun to do on your stamps. Now, if you do that on the MISTI, you can actually do the plaid pattern in two different colors because you can keep the stamp in the same spot and you can clean the plaid, do it in a different color, and then just turn the plaid on your stamp like that, the stripe on your stamp to create the plaid. And you can do it in two different colors. So that's just a fun little technique to try on your own time, and I wanted to show you what it would look like. Okay, so let's find a clean, tidy towel, because I am inky. And we are going to stamp two of these anyway, so I just want to clean that plaid pattern off of there. Now I'm going to use the dotted pattern, this one right here. This one right here, this little dotted pattern. It's a nice little speckled pattern and it can be used for a lot of things. Remember, you can also just kind of, if you want to add a little splatter to your card, here's another little tip, and I'll have to clean it again, but you can just like kind of touch it a little bit and then you can kind of like add some little speckles here and there to your card. So you can kind of do that kind of thing. So I mean, there are so many ways to use this stamp. It's not, you don't have to just use it one way. And of course, see what I did? Now I got to get another piece of white cardstock because I ruined everything. Okay, another piece of white cardstock. So let's get back to the card. Sometimes I go a little crazy with the techniques because there's so many things you can do, and you know, we only have 2 hours. So I got to show you everything. And you can like use a sponge dauber on this with ink. So you can just ink certain little areas to create that plaid so it's not so patterned, you know, just a little bit here and there. All right, we're going to start by inking up the dots with Faded Brick. And now I'm going to stamp my stamp with Sweet Mango. And then I'm going to kiss it onto the polka dots and I'm going to stamp it. So now I've got those cute little dots in there. Now remember, you want to clean the stamp before you do it again. So if you use a baby wipe, a tidy towel, a stamp chamois, a microfiber cloth, whatever you use, go ahead and clean your stamp. And remember to re-ink this because you pulled ink off. And if you don't remember where you pulled the ink off, you might end up aiming at the same spot and then you won't have dots. Okay, so once again, we're going to stamp this stamp. So we're doing 2 of these. And I'll pick a different spot here. Maybe. And I'm going to stamp that again. So now we've got dots there. Let's see if I can zoom in a little bit here. And we can see these dots a little bit better. Can you see them in there? They're just so cute. It's just such a cute little light texture. All right, I'm going to clean this stamp, and then I'm going to get the side angle flower. Alrighty. So I'm going to put that one on there. We're going to do the same thing with this. Remember, we have to re-ink this stamp again. Also because the ink is kind of drying on there, and you do want the ink to be wet. Now I'm going to ink this one with the sweet mango. And then touch it to the dots. See how I give it a second too? I don't pull up right away. I want that ink to be able to transfer. And you know, if I were you and you're in this spot, you know, maybe do 2 or 3 of them and pick the best one, the one that you like the best. It's such a fast technique that you can always go back. Just make sure you clean that stamp and then you re-ink this stamp and then stamp another one and see if that one, you know, tickles your fancy more. I think I'm going to go with my first one, but I had to try it again. Now we're going to do a little variety of leaves. So we're going to, again, do the acrylic block technique because we need to do more than one. So my 2 colors are going to be jelly bean green and fresh asparagus. Now, if you like more contrast, I'm just going to do one with apple mint and fresh asparagus just to show you that, you know, if you have them like drastic color differences, it's really very striking. But I also like them when they're closer in color. So let's just do one so you can see it. And then, so for this one, we're going to do this gauze pattern again. I'm going to clean that off and get rid of that red. So I'm going to start with fresh asparagus here on the gauze pattern. Are you guys just like thinking now of all the different silhouette stamps that you have in your collection and how much fun this is going to be? Now I'm going to use apple mint to ink this up first. And then I'm going to touch it to the fresh asparagus texture and then stamp. So can you see you get like a lot more depth in that? It's like a deeper color. So that's apple mint. You can also do this in black, which I know I said earlier, but I want to make sure that you remember that. Because if you do this part in black, that's a whole different look. It's very, very graphic and it's cool looking, really cool. But I'm going to stick to the colors that I put in the book. So we're going to go with the jelly bean green. And we're going to go with fresh asparagus again here on the gauze section. I'm just thinking of, like, a lot of people have really cool, big, bold word stamps, like Kathy Z's word stamps. And I'm sure other companies make them too. We have a big Christmas one that's big and bold that this would be cool for. All right. There's one. And I'm going to do 3 of these. So remember, we're cleaning and we're adding fresh asparagus. Always check the bottom. Make sure you have the right color because it doesn't work in the opposite way. If you stamp your dark color and then you know, well, I will show you though. I will show you something that's very cool. Let me show you this. I'm going to show you this. All right. Another technique. Let's ink the stamp up with fresh asparagus. All right. So we'll get that nice and dark on there. Now I'm going to stamp onto this petite pattern here. And that pulls color off. So when you stamp it, look at that cool texture you get. So, you know, stamping off on a blank stamp pulls the color off and leaves behind a cool texture. So that's called, I like to call that kissing off. So you actually have the dark color on your stamp, you kiss off the color onto the background stamp, and then you stamp. This is kissing on. So you're kissing color onto your stamp. So that's something else to try. The kiss off technique. Oh my goodness. All right, so I'm inking this up with fresh asparagus again. I got to do this 2 more times. You like that, Tom? Kiss off? You've never heard that before, right?
Brings to mind the kicking acetate.
No, smacking acetate, not kicking acetate. Oh my gosh. Now you got me confused. I'm going to stamp jelly bean onto my... All right, back to the fresh asparagus on the textured stamp. Jelly bean green on the solid stamp, the silhouette stamp. And then kiss on the color and stamp. Ooh, I'm too close to the edge here. Oh, that wasn't bad. Wow, that was dumb luck. My block was actually held up on the side. Okay, now we're going to do, let's see, let's do 2 of these tiny ones and 2 of these viney ones, because we're going to add a little bit of extra. Everybody's going to be kissing off now. And we could do 2 at a time for this. We can add both of these onto the block at the same time. You guys see that? I know I'm really close off. If I'm Cody, if people heard this video, they would be questioning what I was watching, learning many kissing techniques. I see you, Cody. Scrapbook.com, Cody. Oh my gosh, that's so funny. I know. Can you imagine just like somebody walking by and hearing smacking acetate and kiss off and be like, wow, Gina K's really changed her style a bit over the years. All right, so I'm going to stamp these 2 at the same time onto jelly bean. And we're going to kiss and stamp. Oh, goodness. All right, I got to move this out of the way. Maybe I'll just get another piece of white cardstock. I know I have one here for the last couple. All right, we'll put these aside. I don't even need this to really be stuck on here. So I'm going to clean again. We're going to do 2 more of these, and then we'll figure how many we need to cut. Two more. Solid stamps with jelly bean. Kissing the color on and stamping. And we'll clean it one more time. Yeah, this is the most affectionate video. Stella, we'll just tell them we're an affectionate group. That's great. Kiss off, I'm stamping. That's it, Judy. That's perfect. Oh, man. And kissing on the color and stamping. Okay, so we've got all our cute little texture there. Now, since we're done stamping, I do want to show you what it looks like in black, just because it's so pretty. And I don't have to worry about it then. So let's do this one. We'll just ink this up in black. you'll really see. So if you are a stamper that likes a more bold texture, I do want you to see what it looks like. So I'm using that same green, but I'm using this little flourishy design, and I'm kissing that on in black and then stamping it. So you can really see more of the texture of the design when you use black. Okay, well, now it's time for us to die cut. So I'm going to clean up my ink pads and move them out of the way while you guys are finishing up your kissing. And I'm also going to clean my very inky stamp. I've got black, I've got green, I've got faded brick. And I think we're making great time. I think a lot of people are going to be done today, their cards, if you've been crafting along. If you have not been crafting along, there is no stress to get them done. You do them at your own pace. We'll move that out of the way. And we'll pull this off. You know how easy it is for me to lose things. You know what? I'm going to actually zoom out a little bit. And before we do all our die cutting, we're going to stamp our greeting, because I have the Misty out. I've got the black ink out. And then once I'm done this part, we can just get to die cutting and floral arrangements. So this is the smaller piece that I had you cut out in your homework. This one measures 2¼ inches by 3¼ inches. And again, I always like to just do that little tape on there because I want to stamp this more than once and I just don't want it to move. Now in my card, on my card, I used a grateful for a friend like you. You can use that if you want. You can use so very sorry. You can use thank you. You can even use wishing you a beautiful day, and you can change up the arrangement of your flowers to work around it. But I'm going to stick to the book, and I'm going to do this the same way. So I'm going to get my grateful for a friend like you, and I'm going to put it right up here in the corner. Now, not all the way up to the top. I'm going to kind of leave an even margin on the top and the bottom. And do kind of want to make sure it's straight. So I'm going to pick that up. And then I am going to use my acetate sheet again because I just really want to make sure that that's straight. Oh my gosh, you know how easy it is to lose an acetate sheet? I just lost it, but it was right there in front of me. So I'm going to put my magnet here to keep it in place. You never know what's going to come out of my mouth on any given day. And even when I'm trying to be serious, I mean, you know. Okay, so that looks pretty straight to me. I had the Misty like that. Doesn't it look straight to you? Here you go. It looks straight. I promise I will guzzle my coffee afterwards before I go into the group and look at questions so that I am much more coherent. All right, we're going to stamp this, and like I said, I like to stamp my greetings 2 or 3 times rather than squish them, just a light pressure on them. And you can get them darker by stamping them 2 or 3 times rather than just squishing and distorting that delicate font. See, that looks good. The beauty of a Misty, right? Okay. So we'll pull this out of here, if I can. I'll just take the whole mat out, and we'll wiggle that out, and we're going to put that aside. And I think we're done with our stamping now, and now we're going to start die cutting. You're right, the acetate is running away because it doesn't want to get smacked. That's very funny, Hannah. Oh, you know what? Also, I don't want to forget to put my stamps back on my sheet because I have lost many a stamp by leaving it on the acrylic block and then throwing the acrylic block in the drawer. So I'm cleaning up while you guys are catching up. Okay. There we go. Now it is time to die cut. So I'm going to use my Intricate die cutting machine. You can use any die cutting machine you want. Our dies work with all of the die cutting machines. And I wonder if I need to back out at all here. I think it might be okay. Okay. So let me just organize my mat here a little bit. There we go. All right, we're going to start with, we'll probably be able to do a couple of these at a time. Now, this die should be very easy to line up. It should be consistent all around. These flowers are very symmetrical, so it's not too difficult of a flower to cut out. Let's do that. And we'll do this. Can we do that at the same time? We might be able to. Let's see. We'll be bold and brave and try to do them all at the same time. Now, if you don't have a magnetic mat, I highly recommend Masking Magic. Masking Magic is super low tack and it won't tear your paper. So if you have to tape your die down, even if it's touching your image, Masking Magic will pull up really easy. And it comes in strips, which is nice because you can take a strip and use it for all of your die cuts. I store my strips on top of my die cutting machine. I just stick them up here so that there's always a couple available. And you can find Masking Magic on my website, or you can find it, I mean, a lot of people carry Masking Magic. Okay. So I'm going to send these through, and we're cutting 4 at a time here. Okay, there's 1, 2, 3. And I'm going to just leave those in there, and I'm going to cut these 2 flowers right now, and we'll just pull them all out at the same time. So we'll cut this one. Boy, I did stamp that kind of close to the one above it, but it'll be fine. It'll be better than horrible. I love all the tips that you guys are sharing too in the chat. I can't see them all because I'm not looking at the chat very much while I'm die cutting and stamping, but every once in a while I look up and I see people sharing tips and techniques with each other, and I think that that's amazing. That's the beauty of this this event and our wonderful group over at over on Facebook, the Crop and Create group. Everybody's so helpful. Okay, so I've got these cut out. I'm going to lay them down here. And remember, I had some tape on the back of this, so sometimes I end up taping stuff onto my die cutting mat. But here we go. Look how cute. They're so cute. Look how green I am. I'm so green. All right, and we've got these. So let's cut these 2. This little one. You know, and you can cut like as many of these as you want. And there's other ones in here that we didn't even stamp and we didn't cut. You can use those instead. You can make your floral arrangement however you like. Or you can follow mine from the book. But there's some flowers, there's some leaves that go in both directions, which is nice when you're trying to do floral arrangements. Sometimes it's nice to have them where they can kind of go off in different directions. So you've got all of those. We definitely have some extra stuff in that stamp set that we didn't use today, but I thought it was more important to get the techniques in and try these techniques because you can always swap out a different silhouette image for any of these techniques. You're all green from all of the cleaning and all of the inking. That's good. Inky fingers is a sign of a fun afternoon or a fun morning when you walk away with inky fingers. So let's get that one off. Okay, so I am going to put my mats away here and my die cutting machine. And now we're going to assemble this card. Okay. So the last pieces that you should have left from your homework is an A2 card base. You should have a black panel that measures 3 5/8 by 4 7/8. And you should have this smaller black one that measures, let me look for this one, 2 3/8 by 3 3/8. So let's assemble this one first. So we're going to take this smaller black panel and we're going to adhere the white panel with our greeting on it onto that. Now I had mentioned in my meet and greet that if you wanted to use the Master Layouts 2 die set, which is this one right here, it does have these two panels in here that would work for both cards that we did today. So you would be able to have stitching on your white panel, this panel, and you'd be able to have stitching on these. It would just be longer and it would be a little thinner. So you'd have to modify your floral arrangement a little bit, but it really does take it up a notch. So it is kind of fun to do that. So if you don't have Master Layouts 2 and you're new to Gina K Designs, you do have that discount code. That might be a good one to try because I think you would really like it and it would be helpful for a lot of your card making, not just these cards. Okay, so I am putting that panel there and then we're going to adhere this onto the white card base. And you could do it either way, whatever way you want. I'll just do it this way. And you know, here I want to show you something really interesting. See how these stripes are going this way? On my sample card, they're going this way. And it was really just because I had the background stamp shifted. So you can get that a different look just by shifting the background stamp. Turning it a quarter turn will give you either up and down stripes or horizontal stripes. Vertical or horizontal. So we'll go ahead and put that here.
Be a half turn.
The half turn. Quarter turn, right? Quarter turn. So here, and then a quarter would make it go this way, and then a half turn, like, well, you know what I'm saying. There's 4 sides. Just turn it once. How's that? I don't know, Tom.
No, you were right.
Was I right? Okay.
I was thinking after it was stamped.
Oh, yeah. Right. Okay, so I'm going to pop this panel up using some of these foam squares. Yeah, you want to turn it that way if you're doing the crisscross method.
Another walk on the wrong and winding road.
The wrong and winding road. Oh, Tom, we love you so much. All right, and this is just going to get popped right in the middle here. Okay. I'm like hesitant to let go. There we go. Okay. And I pop that up with those foam squares to give that a little bit of dimension. Now we're going to do our little layout. So this is always fun. I like to just kind of just play with this a little bit. Oops, everything's sticking to me. That had a little tape on it. Let's see. And we'll do this here. I would just follow what you see in the book too, as far as the layout goes. So I like to just have a little bit of greenery sticking out in different places. I think I cut one less than I have in the book, so we'll make it work. And we'll do a little overlapping of the flowers. Did I drop a flower? Oh no. Oh no. I think I dropped a flower, Tom. Well, we can pull one off. Let's just check, because sometimes... All right, does somebody see it? If you see it, let me know. If you don't see it... I know I just dragged them both over here. See, this is the beauty of live. But remember when I said make an extra one? I have an extra one. Is somebody seeing it? Oh, I didn't cut it. Oh, Oh, thank you. I didn't cut it. Oh, God. Thank you. Because I would seriously, after this live, I would be looking on the floor for about 30 minutes.
You're not making the cut.
I'll cut it right now. I'll cut it. Oh, my word. Thank you.
Oh, that reminds me. Somebody asked, how do you line that
The die up?
die up?
Well, these are all symmetrical, so it'll work no matter like where you lay it down. It's going to work because these are all very symmetrical petals. So there's not like a right way to line it up and a wrong way. They're all even. So any way that you line it up, it's going to work. Oh, Linda, I agree. Tom does make the show. He is always so funny, and it's so helpful in times of stress when I'm looking frantically on the floor for the one thing that I need that I didn't even cut. Okay. All right, so you can, again, like you can do these any way you want. So I'm gonna overlap the flowers here. This one I'm gonna pop all the flowers up, and then I'm going to tape down all of the greenery. So yeah, this is gonna work. And you don't even have to use everything that you cut. I think I'm gonna take this little one and pop it in here because there's space for it right in there. And then I'll use this bigger one down here like that. Okay, so that's gonna be my arrangement. So I'm gonna start, when I arrange, let's zoom in a little bit here. My zoomer has an on and off button and it actually turns itself off, so I have to always turn it on. Okay, so we'll start with the greenery. So once you have the flowers kind of where you want them, I think I'm gonna actually cascade this over here just a little bit more too. Then you can take the greenery and just do a little bit of tape on the back and put the greenery in place right down on the card. So again, I'm not real worried about it being absolutely perfect. I'm just kind of getting them close to in place because we're going to pop these flowers up after. All right, and then this last one, I like to have some things going off like that up there. So this one will go off just a little bit down here like that. We're getting all the greens in place, getting our greens, all our greens in place, and then we'll pop up all of the flowers. And if glue works better for you for this, you can certainly use your glue. I don't mind using tape for this, because then I only like really tape the bottom. There we go. And now these are going to get popped up on top. So I'm going to start with this one, and I'm going to use these 1/2 inch foam squares for this. And the foam square itself is actually going to help seal everything down too, because it might touch a few of these little edges. So we'll get that one in place. And then we'll do a second one up there. And then we'll do little tinies on this one. I have some half ones too that I cut in half just for these little purposes when you have a tiny little spot. I'm going to use my tweezers for this because I'm going to see where I'm putting it. Put it right up here. There we go. Okay, and this would be a perfect area to add some sequins or embellishments if you wanted to add some. Otherwise, it's a very simple card and it can be sent just like this. So let's look at the cards that we made today. Take a little peek here of the cards. There we go. There they are. And this class really was almost less about the cards and more about the technique, because I know you guys have tons of beautiful silhouette stamps in your collection, including words and greetings and things that you're going to want to try all these different techniques. If you get a chance, go back, kind of page through this video again, kind of zip through and write down all those techniques. Remember the kissing off, the kissing on, just so many different ways to use this, the crisscross. And I can't wait to see what you guys do and share in the group as well. Well, you guys, this was such a fun class. I hope that you guys had fun today too. I'm glad that we're about 15 minutes ahead of schedule. That gives you a little bit of extra time to heat your coffee and grab something sweet to eat and get ready for your next class today. Remember, if you are just joining us and you didn't know, there was a schedule change for today. So today, in place of honeybee stamps, I think it's Kelly Cahoot's class, we're going to have Libby from MFT. She's going to be teaching, and Kelly is going to be teaching in place of Libby tomorrow. It's just, because I know a lot of you get your supplies already beforehand, and if you miss that announcement, you definitely want to make sure that you have the right products ready to go so you don't miss anything. And Kelly, if you're able to even watch this a little bit on your phone, we hope your electricity is getting restored and that you are safe and sound, and we will look forward to your class tomorrow. Well, everybody, thank you so much for spending Saturday morning with me, and thank you so much to Catherine for inviting me to another Crop and Create. They're always amazing events. The teachers, everybody in the Facebook group, all of you, you're just amazing. You bring so much joy to each other, to us as instructors, to Catherine and Megan and Jen, who is doing so much stuff behind the scenes all the time. Thanks to everybody at SCT for making these events amazing. All right, everybody. Well, I'm going to sign off, and I hope you all have a great rest of your day. Stay hydrated, stay safe and healthy. We love you all so very much, and we'll see you again real soon. Bye-bye.